Welcome to 9 Times. I'm Garrett, and I'm in the process of discovering my own worlds. Submarines. That's what we're looking at this time. And yes, that's submarines plural. 5 in total to form a small fleet of research and exploration subs. The 5th actually being a ship. The idea is for the big ship to have the ability to transport these 4 submarines inside of itself, and then travel to the next location. The first one on the list has the job of gathering minerals, study samples, resources, artifacts, and so on, using its arms and temporarily storing whatever it finds in the compartment behind the cockpit. The arms rotate upwards at the shoulders in order to drop whatever item it's holding into the container, which works like a truck bed with a cover that can be opened and closed from the inside. It can be operated by only one person, but it can hold 2 people comfortably if it needs to. All 4 of these submarines have very distinct looks, but also share a few stylistic similarities. The crew aren't huge fans of total uniformity, which works out well because the designer and manufacturer makes most of the subs on request. Each of the 4 main pilots was allowed to have input on at least some of how their own submarines would turn out. These first 2 do the most working together. The collector puts the stuff he gathers into this second submarine, or rather, this one reaches out and moves the stuff from the collector's cargo into its own. Once there, it gets sorted into different sections. Unfortunately, it's not automatic, but rather a small crew inside sorts the stuff by hand into the right storage containers, which you can see here from the outside. This transporter makes trips back to the ship if necessary, while on longer expeditions. Chances are they won't have enough air on average to be able to make more than one of these trips at a time. Of course, while on the surface they can replenish their stock a little bit, but the collector's crew can only be down there for so long. When more than just picking things up is required, the crawler comes in. Now, I don't really know if this would classify as a submarine, since it usually just sinks to the ocean floor wherever it is and walks around. This thing can help with scouting at times, since it can get into some places that other submarines can't. And in general, it is the Swiss Army knife of the group. In the storage container on its back, it holds various attachments for its arms and legs. Or maybe they get put on beforehand, and those attachments swap between feet, or whatever tool on each leg. These tools can include drills, projectile weapons, harpoons, grapples, a winch, prying tools, nets, explosives, and so on. It basically assists the collector and transporter in whatever way it can, which sometimes means warding off curious sea life. Next up, we have the scouting sub. This is a 1-person sub whose main task is searching the area for potential dig sites, mineral deposits, ruins, shipwrecks, etc. It's equipped with markers that can deploy an anchor to the ground, while the other part of it floats to the surface and produces colored smoke that tells the rest of the crew on the ship what lies at that spot, and thus which submarines are needed for the job. It is by far the fastest of the 4 and equipped with a few projectiles and other tools for warding off unwanted creatures. Most of that work is reserved for the crawler, but this sub tries to help when it can. Then we have the ship. This is obviously where most of the crew do their work. Like I said at the beginning, this team is in the business of researching and exploring the ocean where it can on this side of the continent. The 4 submarines can only go so deep without being destroyed and the occupants killed, so they don't go too far off the coast. It's equipped with various kinds of labs and other rooms for the research and cleaning of whatever has been brought in by a recent expedition. This is a for-profit business, so its valuable information and rare finds are either used for their own purposes or sold to the highest bidder or whoever they have a contract with at the time. This is by no means the only operation on this coast, but it's the one we're looking at today. The ship has hangars for each of the subs, which ascend to their correct spots and are locked into place. For the crawler, 4 large cables are lowered and attached to each of the 4 legs. The vehicle is then pulled up and hung by its legs in the hangar and locked into place. There's a lot to unpack about the interior of the ship, but we'll just have to save that for another time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.